Like this, like
that.
What the heck?
Look, he put the one in the middle. This mine's in the middle.
Hey,
he knew what he was doing. He said, Mark, this is what you get, big dog.
Because I feel like the guys now.
Listen, when I popped the top on him, I didn't realize 4 inches of it with buttons.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
We've been recording, big dog.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Glad to have you back. Today we got kind of a little special treat for you guys. I got some world-class anglers right here chilling with me.
Just some chumps. Some chumps.
Jimmy Jacks.
Just straight
Jimmy.
Just Jimmys. All right, so
Just started.
So y'all can tell we got a few things laid out on the table here. And
why do we got these grass here? Man, we got all these grass right here, DC. Man, what the heck?
Look, he put the one in the middle. This mine's in the middle.
Hey,
he knew what he was doing.
Need a flasher. That's
he
all
said,
you
Mark,
need.
this is what you get, big dog.
That's it.
Shallow water guy. Hey, all he needs is literally the depth. Am I flipping in 4 foot or 5 foot?
Right, that's it.
So what this episode, I guess you would say, is how offshore fishing has changed in the game. Because y'all know what I'm talking about. It's changed a lot. Okay, you can't just go out there firing around and catch them now. And I would say I got a really good teacher, I guess you would say, in the house. My man J-Dub. How has offshore fishing changed in the past since you've been doing it? How has it changed the most for you? What has changed?
You know, I've grew up where, like, pretty much in the era, you know, I feel like the first people who were on this were like Kevin, Mark Rose. I look at those people that you know, Randy Haynes was unbelievable on the leading edge of Tennessee River offshore fishing. And what I'm talking about, and than anything, is more so these fish are getting offshore in the summertime. They get in big schools. Like, they were fishing untapped fish that literally had never been fished for.
Oh, fresh schools.
And 100%. And so,
that's what Randy said.
Yes, sir.
As the years have gone on, it definitely has gotten tougher because more people, number one, now you have live. Now you could, and there's a lot of information out there with YouTube, but what we have right now, the learning curve is so much quicker these days in bass fishing in general. It doesn't matter what you have. You want to learn about how to flip, you click on a video, click, all right, find out how to flip. All right, this is what I was doing wrong. You want to learn how to tie a knot. Now, back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s, these guys would have to have a magazine and read and talk about it. And then they would see the guy. They couldn't hit up a social media. They couldn't hit him up, hey, man, how do you tie your knot? Or how do you do this? How do you do that? So things have changed so much in the game that we fish, in the game we play, that I feel like that's the really heart of it. But overall, it definitely has changed a lot.
Absolutely. I would say the biggest thing has changed, which we all know, the grass. All kind of grass, whether you run Lowrance, Humminbird, Garmin, all the other ones out there. I don't even know. Ray Marine, maybe. I guess. So, no matter what you use nowadays, I'm going to shoot y'all with an unbiased opinion. They're all great. They've gotten so good that you can put any of these deals on there and catch them. But I think the biggest thing for me is what Jacob says is, you know, things are accessible now. You can get whatever you want out there on the internet. You can research. You can get the best mapping, stuff like that.
That's changed a lot too.
So the mapping, I think, has changed a lot. The thing, it's so good now that literally you can see 1 foot contours. You can see a little nook in a bank. I mean, anywhere. There ain't many sneaky places out there, and the only sneaky places is he's got them. I mean, literally, that's it. That's how I feel. At least on Chick. So, but I really feel like the mapping has changed a lot nowadays, and that's what's changed. The mapping and the grass for sure. Now you could go into bait selections and all that because the baits have changed. They've gotten a lot better. I mean, way better. I mean, back then you used to have, I guess, wooden crankbaits. The old school deep bait was old bomber. You know what I mean? Now we got baits running 25 foot on a cast.
OG Pose. He's pretty old school too.
OG Pose, OG Bagleys. I think the biggest thing you also got to think of, I think a really good point in this whole deal is like community holes.
Oh my gosh.
Community holes are a great example of what's changed in the dynamic and the change in what we've seen, the evolution of bass fishing. Yeah. Like, literally, you're talking about a major point. You know, there's a place on this lake right here, like, it's called Johnson's Hump. Well, it's just known because the guy in 1990 something, back in the 90s, that's all he fished, Johnson's Hump. It's his hump. Like that's how it is now. It's it's one of the biggest community holes in the lake, and everybody fishes it. But the thing is they become community holes because the more people fish and the more people see, and like, hey, what are they fishing? And it changes that fishery. Those fish get pressured every day. Now, where back in the day they'd only fish to when Johnson fished it. They do that. It happens.
They do that.
It happens. What do you think, Mark? Mark, how's it changed?
Oh, my bad. I was still caught up in that whole deal. For me, my story is a little different than y'all boys. You grew up on the Coosa, y'all fished offshore. You grew up in Indiana, spent a lot of time on Kentucky Lake.
Coming down offshore there too.
And you got to the offshore game rapidly. Mm-hmm. For me, I was a shallow water guy all my life, fishing on the California Delta. We didn't need grass for nothing other than water temp. You used your rod to figure out how deep it was. That's how it was. Mm-hmm. I've gotten tired of getting spanked real quick. It took me about a year of getting spanked to where I was like, I got to step my game up with my electronics. I got to step my game up with my offshore game and my bait selection, basically, which is what we've all covered briefly. And it's certainly involved in a short amount of time that I've been doing this. Mm-hmm. Competing with these guys and the rest of this field and the guys on the Elite Series and the Pro Circuit, etc., these caliber of anglers, they're not missing much.
No.
They ain't missing much, if any. Ain't much getting missed. And so, for me, what I think the biggest component to it is what we got laying right here in front of us, man.
100%.
And we touched on it, man. I mean, the electronics are legendary these days. They almost don't allow for a sneak place.
Yeah, but I don't want people to watch this video either and think that you only can compete in bass fishing by buying tens of thousands of dollars in electronics.
100%.
That's not the case.
This is a misconception, and I hear a lot of people. They sit there and yes, 100%, it does help you.
Yeah, you got
but you have to understand it. Just because you buy $15,000 of electronics does not mean you're going to catch a bass.
That's true.
It does not mean that.
But with that being said, too, though, in the events we fish and at our level, you have to have them.
And that's the thing. You're talking about like all right, race car drivers that race in NASCAR and people that just race for fun.
Sure.
They have a completely different equipment.
Yes.
Runs faster, does everything cleaner, has a pit crew.
Yes.
It's completely different.
Yes.
We have to run it because of ultimately the guys we're fishing against are that good, and it's an industry standard almost.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so where now, I feel like that's a thing that if you come up, this is the thing that people don't understand. If you come up and you're sitting there, well, you make an excuse of, I don't have these thousands, tens of thousands. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
I do not want to hear it.
Perfect example. So we all got the forward-facing sonar stuff where you got Garmin, Lowrance, whatever else, power poles coming out. I don't even know. All right, so the forward-facing stuff is going to be a different video. So we're not going to jump into it, because I promise y'all, that's changing the game big time. It's changed the game. But I'm going to tell you, to basically kind of sum up the video, because we could go on for days about how everything has changed. The pressure of these fish offshore, the mapping, the electronics, everything. The local fishermen seeing you sitting on a place, the ethics of fishing offshore. There's so many spectrums we could cover. But I'm going to leave it like this. I talked to a man the other day. He was on Lake Mitchell. And one guy had Garmin. He had the Garmin Live Scope.
Yeah, Live Scope.
So a man had Garmin Live Scope. And I actually talked to another guy at the boat ramp. And crappie's been biting at the house, right? I asked both of them, I said, you catch him? He said, I got my limit. I said, 10-4. I asked the other guy, he had Live Scope. I said, you catch him? He said, I got my limit. So there you go.
Yep.
Both of them got their limit.
Yes, sir.
My man with Live Scope may have got it a little bit faster. But you don't need all that. You ain't gotta have it.
No,
right? But like that's what I'm trying to like get at. So the whole purpose of the video was like things have changed. The game has changed.
Yeah.
But a lot has not. And the fishing side of things, I think if we keep it simple, I try to keep things simple the best I can.
Yeah.
But you got to change with the times, I guess you would say. Sure. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's kind of a sensitive.
Yeah,
I'm kind of upset about it because these fish are getting so pressured.
Well, I think that's the thing. actually shallow is the new offshore.
It is.
So,
It is.
so this, and I don't want to say like it's the
Boy.
thing. Like, listen, I grew up. I remember getting a graph and having 2D, a Lowrance graph, and having 2D when I was 14 years old. My dad bought it. It was like $500, and it was like he went out of his way, bought it off Bass Pro Central for $400. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a dang graph. I got 2D, and I didn't even have GPS. I was like, oh my gosh. This is the thing. Like, use what you have.
Yep.
Try to get good at that, and you do not have to have 12-inch units. If you're just trying to get better into this, like
Dude.
down scan and side scan, having a smaller unit like this, you can still do a lot. I mean,
yeah.
you can find every place
They
that
look the
I
same
found
on this
out here on this place
and on that.
with this right here.
Yeah. They look the
100%.
same. They look the same.
And that's the thing is now
That's
does it
your
help
eyes
you
on
see
the
it
water.
better? But it's still time on the water. It's casting. It's all of these things that play into being a better fisherman. And I feel like I don't want anglers to think that electronics is the end all be all. I don't want it to be, because I feel like the guys now, the more of an advantage, that little guy. That's all you need.
Listen, when I popped the top on him, I didn't realize 4 inches of it with buttons.
I don't know why they did that.
That's
You
about-
might need a little bit bigger screen than
That's
that.
a 3-inch. That's a sit. Hold on, where my phone at? Oh, here you go. Take that phone.
it.
Look.
Oh my god!
Hey, really?
Oh
though,
my
okay,
God.
you can do that.
Yeah.
Literally, you might as well just graph your phone.
I had one of these on my first boat. I ain't finna even lie.
Yeah, I mean, so that
Ain't nothing wrong with this,
No, there's
by the
not.
way.
There ain't
We
nothing
already
wrong
said that.
But I think there's the thing. Mark, you grew up, made your living. You're probably one of the best shallow water fishermen I've met. You've gotten a really good deep in fishing offshore.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be good at all of them.
Oh, you cannot think you're gonna go. You said this just a second ago. Don't think you're finna go drop 15 grand and get 4 faces sonar, 4 units on your rig, to where you can see everything in the world, and you've got to magically, the bass gonna start falling out the sky.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
That's not happening.
That's not gonna happen.
Unless you're on a
So
private
that
lake.
kind of goes.
Unless you're on a private lake. Yeah.
They go get it because you're going to smash.
So basically what we're trying to get at, the purpose of the video was to go into the evolution of offshore fishing, what all has changed, the baits, the mapping, the pressure, like Jacob said.
Yeah.
More people are doing it. Like my man Mark's finally got out
Hey,
off
I
the
got out
bank.
there too.
Hey, he got out there,
You might
guys.
see me. You got to look a little far
Hey,
out there,
hold on,
like,
hold on,
oh,
let's rewind.
I seen
Hey, you got a blue trophy. You got an Elite Series trophy off the bank.
off the bank. You could have never told me
Dropping
that.
on gummy worms.
That's so crazy.
Dropping on
I would have
gummy
never
worms.
thought I could win off the bank like
That was
that.
insane.
Well, you did,
Uh,
big dog.
And even more so on smallmouth. I was like, what? But whatever. Hey, listen. If you haven't tried it, you need to get off the bank and try it. Whether you got one of these or one of these.
Or flasher.
Or nothing at all.
Or a flasher. It don't
Right?
even matter.
Old school paper maps. Who remembers those? I
Yes.
still got those. I'm
100%.
sure you still got them, Jay.
Line up with that
DC
pine
got 'em.
tree and
Okay.
throw toward that buoy right there.
Okay, triangulation.
Yes.
This is how we used to get it done back in the days.
100%.
You think that don't work no more? Of course it does.
Yes, it does.
So there's no excuse. Get out there and get it done.
All right, so the evolution of offshore fishing is all of the above, but keep in mind, go out there, dial it in,
Yeah.
practice, graphing, whatever you got to do. These fish are not going to catch themselves, guys. That's one thing for sure. They can hide. Actually, they can't no more.
No, they kind
They
of can't.
really cannot hide.
They can run though.
You can run, no.
Yeah.
I've seen them run all week this week. They run from your bait because there's too many people throwing at them.
But certain.
Hold on a time. Rewind. Don't go off the bank. Stay on the bank because there's too many people off the bank.
Boy.
No, don't do
Seriously, it is easier to catch a bass on the bank now than it ever has been. Now, it's the opposite. It used
Yes.
to be easier to catch more fish off the bank because not everybody was doing it. Now it's become cool and it's a new thing, and it's become the biggest thing to do. And there's so many people off the bank now, it's gotten tougher to get a bite offshore than it has on the bank. Fact.
That's
This
real
offshore
talk.
talk. This
That's real
offshore
talk.
talk.
That's
Yes,
fact.
sir.
This ain't inshore
This is
talk.
it.
This is offshore.
No.
It's offshore talk.
Not saltwater talk. Offshore talk.
offshore
Yes,
All right,
bass
guys.
fishing.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. We just chilling on the back porch talking about offshore.
That's it.
Until next time.
Chilling.
See ya.